And by we, I mean me and Padme, who looks a bit odd because I got some strange light coming in. Um, okay, let's talk about where we left off, which I know was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But I left off basically having to dye everything, like we had done the yellow dyeing. And of course, yes, if you did not see part one, go check that out. I'll link a card up above so you can go check it out, because that did get us through a lot of the nitpicky stuff. I say that, yeah, we have still so much to go through. So in this part, we'll be finishing up the dress, which means all the chiffon stuff. All the dyeing is finally done, which I will talk about all of the fiasco of that in a minute. We're going to talk about making her metal necklace and armbands, of course. And then finally, let me turn my AC off, because it is still the middle of summer. And then finally, the little headpiece. We're going to talk about doing that too. So let's talk about the dyeing. I ran into a lot of issues, and I don't even want to remember how often I dyed this, because it wasn't just like I got to do the yellow, the pink, and the purple, and that was that. It ended up being not just 3 dye batches, but I think like 6. And some of the reason was because while the chiffon and my fake taffeta, my faux taffeta, took to the dye very well, dyeing it more than once got a little more complicated, because the fabric was like, you already dyed me, I don't want to dye again. And the chiffon did behave a little bit better than the faux taffeta. The faux taffeta did great with the yellow, did okay with the pink, and then by the time we got to the purple, it was just like, no more. And I did have some issues even with the chiffon kind of fighting me. I've gotten the best purple I can get on the dress, and I've just had to accept it, you know. To kind of help me, I did end up having to go out and get the Rit Dye Color Fixative, and that helped a lot. Getting the more intense pink and purple on the dress, which right now, because of the light coming in, it's really even, the dress just looks cream, I think, behind me. But yes, so I've gotten, here's my chiffon pieces as well. They're really nice, I think, in coloring. It's really hard to see, I feel like, in the current lighting, but that's okay, because this isn't the reveal. We're going to do that later, and you'll get to see the dress in all of the dye colors, in all of her splendor then. So because I feel like I'm starting to ramble, I guess let's go ahead and start working on finishing her up. I think I'm going to go ahead and pattern out the EVA foam necklace pieces first. That way, while I'm waiting for all the stuff to dry, like, you know, because, you know, the glue, the priming, painting, we can, while that's sitting outside, it can dry out there while we continue to work on the dress part. So let's get to it and finally finish this cosplay. As strange as it sounds, I think I'm going to be a weirdo, and before I do the chiffon stuff, I think I'm actually going to make the necklace piece. I mean, it is a necklace piece looking further at it, like, because it actually has a chain that like starts here and wraps around. I have a picture obviously that I'm looking at. So I think I'm going to do that first. Some of the reason I'm going to do this first is because, quite honestly, it's intimidating the heck out of me. So let me get some pens. I've got some paper. Oops. Oh boy. Off to very slow. So I'm actually going to make this in 2 pieces. The piece that will be the part that kind of comes down, if that makes sense. I really don't know what I'm doing. Like I said, this is the part that makes me nervous. So I think, like, I can see a good outline of the dress through here. So I'm going to follow that outline. And yeah, just kind of trace it out.
how the shape I want it to have. So that's going to be our bottom piece, I guess. And then I'm gonna put the details on it too. Can you guys see that, sort of? I know she may not be even, but I have to follow what I did with the dress, which I guess wasn't even. And then it's like in these layers, you know. Yay, good times. This is all just rough, obviously. When I take it off the dress form, I can kind of look at it better. So it's got like 4 layers, I think. And then another layer there. Okay, so we got that part done. Then I shall do probably the harder part, which is figuring out how I want to do this piece. Because see, like this piece even kind of comes down a bit. I mean, what I'm hoping is this is paper, and paper is going to be a lot more rigid than EVA foam, which is obviously what I'll be making this out of. And no, we're not going to be using Warbler just because Warbler will get too stiff, I think. Oh my god, this is so crazy. Okay, so I know. I'm using a really stiff paper, which is probably not super duper smart. Because like I said, I do know that in the picture it does have this, it kind of comes down a bit is the problem, like onto the necklace. Like this. Because obviously that's how it attaches to the freaking necklace. Then it comes up and wraps around as such on here. Oh, wow. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and refine these a bit more, and then we'll change viewpoints, and I'll show you guys what my pattern ends up looking like. Somehow, my shenanigans actually turned out okay as a decent pattern. So I have 2 pieces. I have this one, which will have all the rib details on it, and of course this collar piece, which will attach to the bottom one and have somehow will have chains that link on it on the sides like hers that will turn it into a necklace. Also, to keep it flat on the dress, because some of my concerns was definitely like, how am I going to keep this from like bolting up? I will have to incorporate Velcro on the underneath and then of course onto the dress to keep it in place. But I'm going to go ahead and cut these out in like EVA foam. I think we're going to go with, is it 5mm? It's not 2mm because that's like the really thin craft foam stuff, but 5mm, I think. So I'm really happy with the pattern, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll transfer it over to the EVA foam and cut it out. Okay, so I've got my base cut out of both this piece and this piece in that 5mm EVA foam. This is just 2mm craft foam, which of course my cat has decided, one of many cats, has decided to make his bed. But this is important because now I'm going to do all the tiers. I'm not going to do the bottom one because that's just this space, but basically I'm going to cut 1, 2, 3. And I'm hoping with it being 2mm, it shouldn't get too thick, but should also still give me the 3D effect that I want. I'm already a little concerned the 5mm is a little thick, but I don't want to make it all out of 2mm because then I'm worried it's just going to fall apart and not last, which I have had happen to me before with craft foam stuff. So 2mm, great for detail, not structure. But before I do that, I wanted to talk about this piece, which is the one that goes around my neck. This is one of my leather hole punches, and what I'm going to do is, before I do anything, is just line this up, make sure I got a decent amount in there, and I'm going to just punch a hole in it, which usually I have to push out sometimes with an awl as well, but that came out really nice. See? Now, let me move this so you guys have the blue background to look at. Now I'm doing this because this is what's going to help me turn this into a necklace and put a nice little chain on it, which after God knows how many hours of just staring, looking at her dress from many angles, that's what how this technically attaches is. I always thought it was part of the dress, but it's actually just supposed to be a necklace. So now, yeah, who would have known? All right, now that my cat has removed himself and another cat has put himself on the foam, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting out these layers. Yay! Now for the armband pieces, I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants. So what I've done is just directly on the EVA phone, I've made a 1-inch long strip that is the width of my arm where it'll be sitting. And the reason I've started this way is because I need to make sure that my two side pieces will connect, and then I can draw, before I cut anything, then I can draw the odd curve that it has as such. So here's what I ended up with, and I just kind of cut two out. They don't look the same, but they are. There's because they're kind of warping. As you can see, I realized I really, like, this was my original one. You can see the curve wasn't as dramatic, and I realized like I needed a much more dramatic curve for the front there. So now that I have all my lovely pieces, and I've pretty much figured out how I want them to stay on. Obviously I've hole punched this one. What I can now do is we're gonna go outside, well, to my outside room, which is, you know, better ventilated. And I'm going to glue all of these down with contact cement. Glue these pieces together like this, so they're just a full armband that'll slide up on my arm. And then of course glue this to this. And after that we'll prime it and paint it. So while I'm doing that and going through all the drying phases, we can jump back to the dress and of course start on finishing her up. Really think I need curtains in this room, but who's got time to make curtains? Alright, as I stated, while I'm waiting for all my foam pieces to kind of do their thing, let's go ahead and start continuing the dress part of this. And I'm going to be taking my two huge chiffon pieces, which if you guys remember, I just cut from selvage to selvage, and then I, you know, serged the tops and bottoms. And what we're gonna do is, to what I can see in the pictures, is we're going to sew selvage to selvage of our two pieces. One is longer than the other because that signifies the back, because yeah, and the front was a bit shorter. So I'm going to sew these together, and in that sewn line, that's going to be the gathered part that's on the arms. That way it's hidden, that it's not a solid piece of fabric, if that makes sense. So I'm going to attach these two together, and I'm then actually going to go ahead and boom, gather it right away. Then we'll kind of get it onto the dress form, pin it down, and get it, figure out where it needs to, how it needs to sit around the bodice area to get a nice look. Oh boy, this video is just all the hard stuff, it seems like. Or I guess the stuff that scares me about this outfit. The whole outfit scared me. What am I talking about?
Okay, let's sew. Okay, I just wanted to talk real quickly about how I'm doing the gathering. So I'm going to run 2 gathering stitches. This is obviously where they attach. And the way I'm doing that is I'm going to, also sorry about my thumb looking weird. I have a slight injury on it. No, I didn't sew my thumb. But, so I'm opening the seam and I'm going to run 2 gathering stitches, one on either side, like one down that way and then this way. And then this will also help me kind of tidy up this hem because it's basically going to keep it flat. I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't know. But that's what I'm doing. Okay, so I went ahead and I have pinned, I pinned it up here and then I pinned it roughly on my fake arms where I want it to kind of sit. And I have the middle also pinned up on the back, which I'm not going to bother turning her because every time I turn her, I guess I didn't tighten it, so she's getting shorter and shorter. And obviously, well, actually, maybe this is my height. Oh well. But what's kind of cool is it already does kind of look like the dress. Like it's cool to see it finally kind of coming together. Obviously, I'm going to grab my phone and have a picture. The 2 pictures I'm finding very helpful is this one where it's sitting in the museum, and another one with her just walking with it down so I can kind of see. And with her walking in the movie with it down like that, I can definitely see that that I'm gonna have to gather it a bit more because it's, come on, let me sit down for a bit. All right, because it's still too long. Of course, this is like sagging. I think I didn't have it long enough on this side because I'm like, I feel like this is actually supposed to be a bit higher on her. Trying to make sure I don't lose too much of the gathers. Maybe freaking get it so it kind of supports the so-called sleeve pieces. This is definitely going to be, I think, the tedious part. It's just getting this just right. So I think I'd like it a little higher. Like here, I'm going to pin it into the arm piece. And what I need to do now then is kind of figure out how much to gather up. Because yeah, this is looking too long. Way too long, because it should only go down to my wrist. So for me, if I say that, then that should mean like right at my bicep here, I think is where I'd like it, and then to my wrist. So it should be gathered down to just to about 17. And right now I'm sitting at a lot more than that. I'm sitting at about, it's not too terrible, but it's definitely in the 20s. So let's see, I'm gonna pin this up here, and that will kind of help me. Of course, I have a cat under my chair, so moving it closer there is a little harder to do. Okay, now I get the joyous task of getting it just right on both sides. So let's speed it up. So I wanted to talk about a realization I had. As you can see, I think the gathers look really nice, but it's way too long. And looking at her dress, I realized there's really not much pink and purple coming up to her sleeve. So I'm gonna have to cut away some of the area with the sleeve, which is fine. I kind of figured I might have to do that. But before we can do that, I need to see how it's going to lay in the front and the back. So we're gonna have to pin the rest of this. Does that make sense? I have no idea. Before I can really cut the hem of this. And like I said, I kind of saw this coming. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're now going to pin this front area. And I'm not going to do any over talking for that. I'm just going to show you guys me working it out. Alright, let's talk real quickly about everything you just saw. So looking at the images, it doesn't look like there's a huge amount here, like that's giving. And basically I just pleated it all along, pinned it in place, or, you know, wonder clipped it in place. I think I have the drape pretty good. You could probably gather this. Now, okay, I want to tell you guys, the reason I'm not too worried about the raw edges is because remember we have that faux taffeta binding that we're gonna have to do all along it. I thought about even doing the bottom piece where she has that weird tuck up, but I think I'm gonna have to wait on that because I have too much fabric right now at the bottom, because like I said, I have to cut this for the back if she will turn for us. What it looks like is it's not, you do see the actual dress on the sides. So all I did is it looks like it just kind of curls like this up. So I have 3 big pleats, and then it also, I pulled up a little bit from the back. It's like took a nice fold, sort of like how you would do a bustle type thing, and pulled it up a bit so that it wasn't too long. Maybe now it's going to be too short. I have no idea. I just know that my dyeing wasn't quite right because this is very strangely dyed, and really I should have the pink even higher up, like to there. And I may still play with that and like pull it up a bit more so the pink is right there, because that's what it looks like on her, is that her pink touches the butt. So I'm just worried if I pull it up that much that I'm gonna lose my length. So now comes the part that's really scary, is I'm gonna go ahead and try and cut this new curve that needs to be for the arms, so it's not like, you know, super long. I always knew this might have happened with me dyeing it beforehand, not having the right amount of pink, the right amount of purple. But I think it's coming along fine. It's gonna have to be fine, because yeah. All right, wish me luck. And hopefully I do not ruin everything that I've worked so hard. So, yay. I wanted to show you guys something. Remember how I said it looked like they picked up a piece and bustled it up there? I can see why they did that, because see, when we have it like that, it has these really nice, pretty swags and everything, and then, you know, you got a nice straight line. But watch what happens if we don't do that. Instead of the pretty swags there, we kind of just have it hanging a bit too much, and then you get this really ugly swag down here, which just isn't very pretty. So that's why they did the bustling and basically pinched a piece and took it up there. Now I have gone ahead and cut everything. No, I didn't record it because honestly I thought I was gonna have a heart attack half the time, but I did just want to share that with you guys, that is why they basically went oh like that, because it just looks a lot better in the back. And in reflection, I could have had the back a little longer, so it kind of dragged behind me, but that's fine. Here we are. So I'm gonna go ahead and now we're gonna sew this here like that, and then that whole front as well. I'm also gonna go ahead and tack the sleeves so that the gathers stay in space in their split, so the gathers stay together. Blah, blah, blah. And then holy mackerels, that's quite a bit of the dress done. Yeah, not a lot of sewing, I guess, in this part. It's more just like fixing things. Of course, the next piece will then be the doing all the bias binding jargon. But let's go ahead and sew all of our lovely pleats and gathers so that they stay in place. Yeah. Woohoo! Let's just do a quick 180 again because it's been some time and I've kind of forgotten what I talked to you about. So I obviously have pleated everything as I like up here. I know this looks rough, but the next step is going to be doing the bias tape that we made out of our taffeta. And here you can see I've done some, I think I'm really happy with the gathers on the arm portions. This part's not held up, this is just how it is. I do have this part held up because remember our arm bracers are going to be doing the work. Now the bottom of the front, I do still have too long, as you can see, because I have to wait until I get my bias tape on it before I can finish pulling it up the rest of the way, or else it was just going to be way too hard to do it. Excuse her being a bit wrinkled. She's been through a lot. Now the back, I've decided I'm going to have to go and sew this not just here, but up to basically the side seam on either side. I just think this gives it a bit more of a nicer drape and control in the back. Otherwise, it was just getting a little too saggy lower down. And yeah, so now it's just time. Well, obviously I'm going to sew this along here real quick to permanently attach it. And then we're going to go iron the bias tape and make it. It's going to be quite a job. It's super duper wrinkled. Yeah, and then we'll attach it. Woohoo! She's starting to actually look like the dress. Here goes nothing. Here they are. Woo! I do have some others I haven't pressed that are more like backups, but I think this is enough. I'll let you guys know about how many yards I used of each color in the bias to kind of get where we are. The purple and the pink look a little similar. I wish, I don't know about the purple. I feel like it should have been more intense, but it's like it just did not want to take that color. So now we're going to sew these together, starting with our creamy yellow, yellow really, pale yellow. So let's just go take, I'm going to show you guys real quick what I'm talking about. So sorry for the Blair Witch style filming. Okay, so as you can see, I have two pieces here. And bias tape, when you cut it out yourself, always ends with these angled pieces. Basically what you're going to do is sew them like that so that you end up with one really long piece that's straight. No, not like that. I'm doing it wrong. Okay. So we got the triangle pieces. Oh. I guess I have to cut off the angles like that, and then we'll sew it, and that'll give us the straight piece. Yeah, you know. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew up. I'm gonna start with the top of the dress. It's gonna be the easier part because it's just all the pale yellow. And we'll go more over the bottom, which is when things are gonna get complicated because I'm going from, the back's not so complicated, that's all purple, but the front is like gotta go from pink to purple. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and sew up, I think, some of my pale yellow. Like I said, I'll tell you guys how many yards I use on each section. So I think the pale yellow is actually just on the top of the dress. So let's go do this. And I know it's really tedious doing all that ironing, but you can really see just what beautiful bias tape we got. You know, this is the whole thing about sewing, as they always say, 50% of sewing is ironing. And it's definitely true with bias tape, but also with a lot of other things. So I'm gonna go grab the dress and we'll start putting the bias tape onto the top. Hope you guys can see this okay. It's kind of a weird angle and it's fighting me to properly focus, but so this is the front of the dress, you know, our neck piece. So I'm going to start the bias tape along this edge. Remember, we don't really have to worry about covering this part right here where it connects. I know it looks sloppy, but our EVA foam necklace part is going to be covering that. You can cover it if you want, but I'm not going to. And now I should do this the proper way where you sew it in like that, but I've always been super lazy about doing that, and I'm kind of on a time crunch at this point. I'm just like, let's just, you know, we've done all the ironing, let's just get it on like this and just sandwich everything in. It's such big bias tape, that's why I think I can get away with it. I'm certainly not encouraging practice like that from you. You should probably do it the right way. I'm just too lazy. You know, I think I'm gonna have to actually pin instead of clip because it is just such thick bias tape. Yeah, the main thing is I want to make sure the pleats are staying in the same place. I had thought about putting it on the dress form. Oh, I'm gonna get poked so much on doing this, but I actually think it's just gonna go easier doing it this way, like flat-ish. Flattish. Okay. I'm actually so far pretty impressed with the color match on my taffeta bias tape in comparison to the chiffon. I was a little worried about that. Now here's where things are going to get tricky, which is where the chiffon sleeve detaches from the main part. So I'm just going to have to let it, you know, make sure I don't mess that up and have it scale off of that. I am a little concerned when I get to sewing that this is going to be a bit hard. Getting that not to pucker or, you know, want to eat it. We'll see. I'll have to go back with whatever leftover bias tape I have and kind of cover up the sad amount that's getting left behind without any proper bias tape, and we can get that, come back to it. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with the color matching. I was quite worried that it was not going to look the same. I was kind of worried my taffeta was going to be, my fake taffeta, was going to be like too yellow, I think. But no, it's turned out really good. Not so certain about the purple and the pink yet. But this looks good, and this is probably the more important color match because it's at the very top. I have some very grumpy cats because they are not allowed in here right now. Because so much ironing is going on, and it's also, they see this dress and they're like, oh yeah, I gotta tear that up. Alright, and back to being on the bodice portion. I guess technically I could, and maybe even should, actually cut my bias tape and have them separate. You know, I think I'm going to have to do that actually. So like, see, so I'm going to have to do this and finish off my bias tape here. Yeah, darn it. Well, that means I probably didn't need to connect as much, but that's okay. Better safe than sorry. So do that and then start back up.
I don't actually know if this is how you're supposed to end and start bias tape. I've always just done it this way because I feel like it gets me a solid edge. So there we go. And now I don't have to worry about it puckering. I'll have to do that on the front as well. Yeah, that's fine. It's all good. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. We've kind of gone over everything. Let's go ahead and jump. Well, I'm going to finish pinning this up. You guys are going to jump to the sewing part. Alright, so I'm pretty darn happy with the bias tape. It does have a little bit of a twist in some areas because there's just so much curvage going on. So, as you can see, this is the side where I decided to just keep the break. And that's sort of why I got the weird twisting going on. It looks nicer on the bias tape, but again, not wanting to focus on God, it's like my camera's just being a jerk pants these days. While over here, I have the bias tape not doing much of a twist. But then I do have this ugly breakage, which is a little noticeable. And then everything goes really nice again over the arm. It's just a shame. I don't really know how to fix that problem. Maybe I should have just tried to keep it still all as one piece. Then I wouldn't have had the breakages. It would have been a little less work for myself. But it is what it is, and this is what we've done. Now we got to get to the hard part, which is the bottom. Okay, I'm looking at the front right now. So, the very bottom is purple. I think I'm a little concerned I don't have enough pink. Yeah. So, okay. I obviously need my pink to start here. And then we'll transition to a purple. And it is as I was concerned, sorry, you guys aren't seeing much of what I'm doing. It is as I was concerned, my purple is a lot lighter than the dye on the dress, which is not my bias tape's fault. It's the chiffon's fault because, as we saw with the taffeta, with all the layering of the dyes, I didn't really get the real purple I was supposed to have, which is a purple like this. I kind of got a reddish purple, which would be a bit hard to figure out how to do that properly. I guess I'd have to dye stuff in sections, which would make the ombre a lot hard. It just would be very hard. So here's what we got though. So I guess what I'll do is I'm trying to figure out basically how to all have this as one solid piece. So I'm thinking if I start up here with the pink and just take it, see, it's all just one. Okay, so I think okay, so if I do a pink, purple, the back purple on the side, wonder how far this purple is gonna get me. Can I do like another, then go to a pink again? Okay, I think this is what I'll do. So I'll start with purple, 1 yard of purple attaching to a yard of pink on either side, and then the whole rest will just have to be purple. It's unfortunate, but that's how it's gonna have to be. I'm not gonna say that this bias tape at the bottom is gonna be as nice as the one at the top. Not so much because sewing wise it'll be probably nicer looking because it won't have any breaks in it. Kind of wish now I hadn't done all the breaks, but that's okay. So sewing wise, I should be able to keep it all as one solid piece. Color matching wise, maybe not so nice as the top.
But yeah, so I'm gonna do a yard of purple and on either side a yard of pink to go up to this, you know, the sleeve portions. And then the rest will be purple, which is going down to the bottom. And that's just gonna have to be how it is. So yeah, back to the ironing board and lots of ironing. All right, now that I've made my room a freaking sauna, I've gone ahead and done it again. The difference is this time I'm actually going to start with that middle purple part at the very bottom front. I'm going to start pinning from there to make sure that because I think I have too much bias tape. And then we'll have the connection in the back, which isn't, it's better than the front. So yeah, I'm going to start with pinning the front piece. And I look like a hot mess, and I feel like a hot mess. Yeah, this part has been super tedious. So you guys saw me pin the top. You don't need to see me do the bottom. So I'm going to just kind of get the bottom done off camera. We'll get her back on the dress form and kind of look over how it looks, talk about the next steps, kind of adding, at this point it will just kind of be adding the details, I think, and kind of finalizing. So we're getting pretty close. Guys, she's starting to look like the real thing. So yes, all the bias tape is done. That was the part I knew would be the most tedious. Tedious? That's an interesting word. Just kind of talking about it. I thought I really would hate the purple, but I don't. It's not too bad. It actually kind of pulls the purpley blue a bit more out of the bottom, I think. No, it is not a match. The pink is just like my creamy yellow. It is just a wonderful match. I kind of wish I had done more strips of pink. I did feel like I kind of had too much purple, not much pink. Like here in the back should have been another yard of pink. So as promised, the yardage on my bias tape was for my pale yellow up here. It came out to, I've already forgotten. Isn't that great? That's why we write things down though. 3 yards. So my pale yellow up here bias tape was 3 yards. I used 2 yards of pink, so a yard on each side. Like I said, really wish I had more like 3 yards of pink and had a yard and a half on either side. That's okay. And then for the purple, it was, yeah, about 4 yards. Because I have a yard here right in the center front. And then maybe it was only 3 yards of purple. No, it was 4 yards of purple. So talking about the back, if I could, I don't think I can move her around. So the back of her dress squares off. So what I did is I started actually sewing the bias tape on the corners, so going like that. And then I did a whole solid piece that was just straight to finish it here on the back. And that gives me the nice angular finish, I guess. I will say the back of her dress I think is longer than what I made mine. Some of that's because while I like having trains, I know me, I have a tendency to step back on them a lot, even with a lot of my historical dresses, that I don't realize, like, I'm probably still gonna step on her. Like, I'm still gonna step on this one, even though I shortened her. It's just, I think I guess I walk backwards too much. I don't know. Now though, as promised, we've done the bias tape. It is now time to start finishing up all the finalized details. So that means our front here, I gotta finish actually, I don't know, what would you call it? Like, I've done it a little bit where I've tacked it a little bit in place. I guess sort of bustling in a way, because I gotta take it up one more time, so I'm gonna make sure I get that right. Then after that, it's figuring out where my Velcro needs to be on here to attach to my arm pieces. which I have gone through some of my earlier footage of course, this part 2, and I have found out that I seem to have misplaced the footage, and by misplaced I mean it's probably gone, it's lost, where I did the priming and painting of all the EVA foam stuff. Out of all the footage, it's the least troublesome to lose because it's not like rocket science necessarily. I've gone through the harder stuff and we have that on camera. It's just I primed it with, you know, I think I did I do Plasti Dip? No. I used Flex Bond. So I primed it with Flex Bond. The reason I picked that one is if you're using EVA foam and you want it to be very metallic and shiny, Flex Bond is better than Plasti Dip because Flex Bond really brings out all of that shininess to your paints. And then yeah, after that, I painted it with silver and gold. Not really rocket science. And then I have added some Velcro onto the armband pieces to help keep this attached, but also removable, so for washing it later. I feel like I'm rambling at this point. Let's just go ahead and fix this and do the Velcro stuff. I don't know, I guess it's just kind of montage time for detail work, and if I feel like I need to clarify anything, I'll do a voiceover. Woohoo! Okay, now it's on to the hand sewing. I think I said I wasn't going to do any more talking, but you can't stop me from talking. So this is my neck piece, the neckline, whatever. Of course, we have to do something in the back so that it can attach to me, and I like to use the hook and bars. I've gotten really addicted to them while doing all my historical sewing, so I'm going to use that as my fastener for the back, basically. Okay, because this dress all starts looking like a big pile of fabric, what we're looking at here is that very back piece where the pink comes up. It's, you know, on the very small of the back, I guess. Now I had a very hard time finding good photos of the back of the dress, but I can tell there's something right here on it. Now I think hers is actually like gold and pearlescent and square. I could personally not find anything like that, so instead I went with this pearly button from Sewology, and it's just gonna have to do, and I'm gonna go ahead and just hand sew that there. Like I said, sometimes with details like this, you just have to go with what you can find. And I definitely think too, you know, we all kind of see maybe something slightly different sometimes as far as interpretation, like how it looks to us might not be the same way as how it looks to someone else. So you just kind of have to go with
what you can. Cause yeah, I know, like, I do have reference images, which I of course have shared with you guys, and I'll probably even link you guys to like a Pinterest board with all the reference images that I have found of the dress. But even still, it is still not like super clear photos on small details like this, which is just a shame. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up hand sewing this, but I do want to take the time actually to say, you know, like, I want to do another, well, a lot more Padme dresses for, you know, May the 4th celebrations. Yes, I know this one's taken me half a year to make. Hopefully that won't happen again. But yeah, leave a comment below with like, which of Padme's looks would you like to see me do next? I really don't mind, because honestly, I kind of love all her looks. I feel like her wardrobe was maybe the best thing about the prequels. Don't want to get into any, you know, hot territory there or get anyone in arguments, but yeah. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and finish sewing this up, and we'll talk about the bling bling in the front. It's now time to talk about what we want to put in the front of the dress. I thought about doing a button, but the more I looked at the pictures and all the reference images, the more I realized I have no idea what it is. It almost looks like a sequin scrunchie that they slid up around that pleated area. So what I have in my stash, I was very lucky, is I have this cut of sample fabric, which I got from Kiki's Textiles. I haven't gotten to work much with the company yet, but I did get samples of their sequins fabric because I was kind of interested to see what it looked like. And I quite like the white. It's very different from the white I already had in my stash, which is just white. I like the sequins on this because it's like, kind of catches the light and makes it look bluey purple the way it catches it, and like even on camera it catches it very nice. I just think it gives it really nice dimension, and it does have some stretch to it, and of course they're the sewn sequences, not the glued, which is, I will never use glued sequences. I did a video like years and years ago about all the different types of sequence fabrics, and basically the summary was stay away from anything that's glued. It will destroy your machine. But yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is like just sew this like that into a tube, maybe put some elastic in it and sew up the ends, and we'll, you know, flip it right side out first, then put the elastic into it, sew up the ends, and we'll get like a scrunchie like thing and that'll look like this, and I'm just going to slide it up and hand tack it in place. It also looks like there might be some light beading kind of hanging down from it. Like I said in the last part with the button on the back, it sort of comes to this point with small details like this that are hard to see. It kind of does come to personal interpretation. This is just what I thought it was from the images that I had accessible to me. You may do something different if you like, or may see something different. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this like a hot dog, flip it right side out, and put some elastic in. Okay, so this is that front part I was talking about. As you can see, you know, what I did here is I pleated it up, and then I also took it up further and did that. But so here's my little sequence scrunchie. I did not put any elastic in because I didn't think it needed it. So I'm just going to go ahead and slide this up. Easier said than done, apparently. And I'm just going to cover up where I have all that fabric meeting. And basically, I'm going to just hand sew it in place and kind of tack it on so that it doesn't move. Which we're getting a very long video here, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and do this off camera. And
Then we'll talk about if I have any good beading hanging down from it. So this is the beads that I did. I literally just, it was a pack I had, I think, from Walmart. I really liked. I actually think I got them for the to help me make the headpiece. But I think I'll make 2 strands about this long. And we'll just sew them up here attached to the, you know, kind of make sure I catch it to the sequence scrunchie. It's the stupidest thing to call it, but. And then I'll also make sure that I catch it on the dress so that it stays also extra in place. I think I'll make 2 because I feel like if I make 1, it'll look a little weird. So yeah, I'm gonna make 2 and just sew these in place. And then we're on to the necklace part. As I said, now we're on to the necklace. I think this is the first time we've actually looked at it in this video fully painted. So what I did to paint it is I actually did, like, I have a very metallic gold spray paint, and I did a base coat on that, both sides, as you can see. This was, of course, after I primed it. And then I hand painted it with one of my metallic silvers, because I just didn't want it to be one or the other color. I kind of wanted it to reflect both. I used a lot of, you know, heat forming to get this nice bend. And of course, just like the armband pieces, I have some elastic that's glued on the inside. We can also take a quick look at our armband pieces a little closer up. I just kind of tried to mimic kind of, you know, her coloring on hers. So we need some gold chain, which I should have already taken off. Again, I just bought the packs from Walmart that you can get. You know, I didn't want to go to any extremes. And it looks like hers is doubled up, which I can see why it has to be. So we're going to do that too, because, yeah, like I said, I think it has to kind of be doubled up. So what I want to do, I sure hope this fits through my hole punches. Yeah. The reason that we're going to have to double it up is because I need basically a solid strand going through. Oh dear, this is going to take me a bit to... Basically, okay, let me just go. So basically I want like a doubled up strand like this, and like it'll go like through, and we'll have 2 strands, if that makes sense, and then they'll connect at the end with our closures. Let me get this through. And here's how it is with the back all closed up. It's pretty cool, huh? I'm actually really happy with it, and it sits really well against my neck. So, yeah. I may have not even needed the Velcro, come to think of it. I think it's just... The only reason I was thinking I might need the Velcro wasn't so much I was worried it wouldn't stay flat against me. I worked really hard on shaping it to try and make sure it'd be flat against me. It was more just like shifting. But I'll be honest, I don't even know if I have to worry about that. Like, I am incredibly impressed with how this has turned out. And because I feel like this was the harder part, but that I had a more clear pattern made for, I have gone ahead and done a PDF pattern that you guys can download for the necklace part. That is, I'll link it down below. It's free. It will be attached to my Patreon. So, because I do feel like this might have been the harder part, but I think overall I'm personally really happy with it. So it's there if you guys want to use it for your own uses. While the dress is done and the jewelry and all the bling, we still have one more part to do, which is the headpiece. All right, we are on the final piece, which is the strange headpiece. Now her hair seems to be designed to look like, you know, a seashell sort of. And I have a very nice photo in that Pinterest board that has a really nice close-up profile view of this hair. Looking at it, I actually pretty sure that they use like a wig headpiece because that's just way too much hair. It's very thick and it's keeping its form perfectly. I don't know if I care enough to like put hours and hours of work into doing a whole headpiece and wig. So I'm more gonna try and focus on doing this with my own hair, because I'm also thinking, like, you know, do I even want to put all that work into a wig that probably would be very uncomfortable to wear around con all day, especially because I work cons. And to me, it just seems to make more sense to just do it so it can go with my own hair. I'm lucky that I have the same color, roughly the same color hair as her. But yes, so let's talk about the design. So it looks like there are 4 or 5, no, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She has 6 purple band pieces throughout her hair. The top 2 are going to be the easier ones. I don't even know if I'm going to do 6. I may just stick with like 5 to make my life easier. So let's talk about what I'm using. So for the first 2, the bigger ones, I'm actually going to use headbands as my base. So we got those. You can get these anywhere. You just want something plain and normal looking, like no details. To make my life easier, I just went ahead and bought the extra wide double fold purple bias tape to make, essentially we're going to be making, you know, little tunnels. I'm going to sew them up and make little channels to just slide these through. Now for the smaller ones, I have some pretty heavy duty wire. I wish I could, I think it's 16 gauge. I lost the label somehow. So 16 gauge wire, I think this will be what I basically put through the smaller versions of the channels. And this way, I'll probably have them like doubled up too, so that the pokey edges isn't at the edges, they'll be in the middle twisted. And this way I can like just wrap them around my hair and hope they keep in place. And of course, as you guys already saw, I got these beads, which will just, I guess I could hand sew them on, but I feel like that's also kind of a waste of my time when there's that beautiful tool called the hot glue gun. And that's kind of what I'm going to use to decorate these. I have, it looks like really the fabric has all these swirls on it. I'm not going to find anything like that. And I'm not going to hand paint all that detail. I can't even tell if it's pearls on them or if it's like studs. There's a reason I wear glasses, guys. It's because my vision's not that great. I did just want to take a minute. Why do I think this is a wig though? So in the photo I'm talking about, which is this one, which of course is on the Pinterest board, if you look at it, not the front pieces that like she has that goes over the sides, that looks like her real hair. But if you look at the hair that's in between all those weird purple grippy parts, it catches the light very strange. And I think that's the synthetic fibers in it catching the light at odd angles. I've you know, just kind of my experience from photographing wigs and stuff and seeing people in wigs when it gets photographed. A lot of times wigs will catch the light, even if they're really high quality, at like kind of a slightly odd angle, like it almost looks like there's glitter. It's hard to explain. It's just my intuition after years of cosplaying and cosplay photography. I think it is this. I think from here back, it's actually like probably a foam base they did, that they put like wig hair over to keep the shape so perfectly. And then they kept her hair up front And I think that's why we see this where they have it go back over it and pin into it, because that's helping her anchor that headpiece onto her head. So that's how I actually think it's made. That is not how I'm going to make it. I'm going to try and do it all with my own hair. So yeah, let's go ahead and change view and start making this before my cats destroy the sewing room. Let's go. And this one my second, because it does have a bit of a lip. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna glue the ends together like this, so that they're held kind of in place, and this will help keep that second one further back in my hair but not falling off of it. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so basically I'm gonna take my hot glue gun, put a dab of glue on the inside, and yeah, just boom, attach it. I'll have to hold it in place until it's done drying, and then we can do the other side. And then I can decorate it, all the pieces, and hopefully it won't be raining tomorrow. So all that's left is the reveal, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, it's finally here. The reveal is finally almost here, but I still gotta finish this up and decorating. Alright, and that's that. I am sorry for the terrible quality reveal. I thought I had enough room in here for the backdrop, but I realized I don't actually to get my camera. The full body shots just aren't super great. I'm sorry about this kind of reveal. I couldn't really come up with anywhere to do it. Outside is absolutely dreadful right now. We don't have snow yet, but it is like in the 50s, and this dress is very low cut in the back. So I hope this reveal was good enough to give you guys a glimpse at what this dress looks like. Things that I have to say about it. First off, so happy with all of my EVA foam pieces. I am just so happy. The necklace is fantastic. I never had to latch it with any Velcro. Even the armbands, I'm so happy with them because they stay up really, really well on me. And I don't have to worry about them slipping down, which is always a good thing. I love the front. And yes, I admit, obviously, we have discussed this before. I did not make my dresses low down in the back as hers is. I just didn't feel comfortable with that, especially because I'm going to wear this to a con. I want to feel comfortable. And the only thing I might think about doing is because I was worried about gapping on the sides of my bust, but it's not. So we fixed that problem as well. The only thing I'm thinking about doing is there is a lot of weight pulling my like the chiffon sleeve part, wanting to pull it towards the back. So I'm almost thinking about here at the bottom of the gathers, maybe doing something like a clear elastic loop or something so that I can like have them come up and around like my finger, which would help hold it in place for all that moving I'm going to be doing at con. Overall though, other than that, I'm actually blown away with how well this cosplay's turned out for me. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done just cosplay for me and took a lot of time to kind of get it to the level where I'm like, I am happy with that. So I hope that these videos, this tutorial will help you kind of make your own Padme dress if you want, or not, I don't know. If you do, I'd love to see your Padme dresses and stuff. Also, I have a link in the description to the Pinterest board with all of the amounts of pictures that I accumulated of Natalie Portman in this dress, and of course the dress at the museum. So I'm going to share that with you guys so you don't have to do all the digging that I did to get some really good reference images. I also have a link to my Patreon. Don't worry, it's free, for the pattern that I made for the necklace. And so hopefully that'll help you with this, because this was probably one of the harder parts. Maybe not, I don't know. To me it was the harder part. Yeah, I mean, I'm like super happy with how this turned out. The chiffon does have a tendency to want to wrinkle, which is annoying. Actually, the whole dress wants to wrinkle. Whatever. It's whatever. I have no idea how the hair even looks, if it looks like hers, or if it just looks like something weird on my head. I did the best I could. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Write a comment below, because I'd love to make some more Padme dresses. So what Padme dress would you like me to do next? I guess it'll totally take a while, because her stuff is not easy at all to make. But yeah, as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Woo!